your moderator this morning. And we are Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation out of Lincoln, Arkansas. And we're going to have a welcome here by Ms. Thompson with the Recreation Center here. So come on, Ms. Thompson.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good morning.
We just want to welcome y'all and thank you for choosing our city to host your meeting and kind of educate people on what's going on. All right. If y'all have any questions, y'all can let us know. Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to have an opening by Larry Lawson.
Morning.
Morning.
And I'd like to thank Ms. Thompson for her welcome and for opening up the facility for us to have this meeting. And I would like to thank everyone on behalf of Arkansas Land Community Corporation, our president, Dr. Calvin King, our board of directors, and of course, USDA representatives. We hope that this roundtable discussion will be beneficial for all of those who are listening. We have Farm Service Agency present. We have National Resource and Conservation Service. And we also have folks here that can talk about rural development programs and services. We, Farm Service Agency will discuss information on farm loans, farm numbers and farm tracts, so that a person can actually get started farming, as well as some information on micro loans, guaranteed loans. Natural Resources Conservation Services will cover the EQIP programs, which is very popular, as well as the conservation stewardship programs. And our own Dr. King will provide information on rural development, especially the 502, 504 program. He will discuss the grant program for our seniors with specific requirements of age and income, as well as some of the community development programs and new housing programs, as well as first-time home buyers. And we hope that everyone in attendance, as well as those who are online, will obtain this information and receive it, and hopefully it'll be useful so for their continued progress in agriculture in the state of Arkansas. And micro loans, guaranteed loans, direct loans, as well as micro farms, traditional row crop farms, and all benefit from these programs. So thank you for attending.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And next we're going to have Dr. King, who will go further and talk about what we have on the staff around table. And just a reminder that we do have other USDA representatives here. We have Tanya Washington and Ms. Jackson over there.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to speak from two directions. One is what we have planned as far as the outcome is concerned in this particular meeting, both for those that are online as well as those who are here in person. And the goal to be achieved in this whole process is both for those who stand to benefit as recipient of the services of the organization. But the reason we always call it a partnership in one USDA is because we also learn from each other in the process, and possibly how we can all do a better job simply by dealing with more communication, referrals, and things of that nature. But hopefully the outcome from this, that people have a better understanding of the program services that's available to them by way of one USDA and how to access those particular programs. which is very, very key. You know, having an understanding of the program is one thing, understanding how to access it, is another. And I guess I always, my dad would give an example and say, you can have a ladder, but you don't know how to get up on the ladder, but you know what you want is up on top of the building. But if you can't climb a ladder, so what? You still can achieve your goal of getting what you want that's above your head. If it's too high for you, you can't reach it. You can have the ladder, but you can't climb the ladder. You still can achieve your goal and what you're trying to do. So in this process, we are talking about individuals. They may have the land. They may have the availability of a home that need improvements. They have a certain knowledge base, but they do not know necessarily how to access the program resource that's available to them and fully understand the benefit of those programs, when they do gain access. Outside of the USDA program, the other thing that we're going to talk about air property. We're going to talk about air property. That's not a program that USDA offers, but it can be a barrier for individuals who are trying to access the benefit of the programs that they have available to them. And that's both with natural resource conservation services. It can be with rural development, also with their program services. There's an air property issue. You're trying to improve the situation on the house. You got air property, undivided interest. You got a barrier there. The same thing if you're dealing with natural resource conservation services and you don't have an authorized individual to sign off on the estate itself and the land that will be involved, you got a barrier. If you are trying to get a farm number from Farm Service Agency and you cannot show either the proof of ownership of that particular property or that you have the control, administrative control legally of that particular property, then you got a barrier. So air property, we're going to have some discussions about that, how that's the barrier. They will probably give reference to it that if you can't do this is what you have to have. And they said, but if it's air property, if you go there to say, well, no, you got to treat ownership of that particular property, you got to show control of it in some form or fashion. And the proof of that in order to get that farm number. Now, from a conservation perspective, Natural Resource Conservation Services, it's also gave reference to the conservation program benefits, and also FSA and the different resources from a financing perspective. And particularly from the financial perspective, and what I call them the micro or smaller loans, and how those particular resources can be beneficial for those as relates to the risk, and I say bridging the base of those resources with natural resources conservation services, which is financing also. So the only thing is you have natural resource conservation services and their program services that enhances the ability of individuals and what they're capable of doing with their land. With that land, which that natural resource is very vital as to what it can contribute to one's livelihood from an economic perspective. So you have that financial base from natural resource conservation service perspective, and they'll talk more about those resources, the different type of resources that they have from that perspective, from a conservation standpoint, as well as other type of resources as relates to that whole enhancement or value added basis of dealing with a farming operation, small farming operation, large farming operation, whichever. But that's a financial base to that. FSA, come back. Now that on the financial side, they'll tell you, that's a financial assistance. A financial assistance. Some call them grant. It's not grant, it's financial assistance. It's program service, it's financial assistance. On the FSA side, it's loan. The law said, well, how you can get loan service for nothing. It is a loan and the accessibility of that allows you to provide the opportunity for you to operate those farms. For you to operate those farms in a manner that it creates opportunity for economic livelihood and benefits to individuals. Utilization of the land from an operation of an entrepreneurship perspective, of a farm business enterprise perspective. So any business operation, manufacturing, whichever, retail sales, they have to deal with, and they deal with operating expenses. They deal with expenses that's paying labor and things of that nature. They deal with that expenses from an equipment perspective. They have to have that type of capital from an operating standpoint. And in other cases, they have to have financing, from private sector as well as from, the public sector, USD rural development, from a business standpoint for expansion. So we need to do some expansion on some major improvements within the context of that business enterprise operation to make it more profitable, to make it more productive, to upgrade, whichever. So all those types of expenses come into play with any type of business operation or business enterprise. So it can be true also with farm business enterprise. Farm business enterprise operate the same way. Some people don't see it from that perspective, but I'm telling you, I grew up on the farm. I farmed for 20 years plus. And all of that is a reality. It's entrepreneurship, it's business enterprise itself. It's an economic business for those individuals, opportunity for those who want to get into it. So it's an economic type of opportunity, occupational area for those who want to get into it as a beginning farmer. And it's an occupational career for those who are already in it as well. Operations like any other business enterprise and that entrepreneurship does in any sense. So from the FSA perspective, from the Natural Resource Conservation Service perspective, those financial resources, what those financial resources allow you to do, what they allow you to do from an operating perspective, what they allow you to do from an expansion standpoint with the farming operation, what they allow you to do to take advantage of or to become a farm enterprise entrepreneur individual. Become that type of individual, running your own farm business enterprise as a beginning farmer and keeping those individuals operating and in business as farm operators with FSA, enhancing those operations from what I call an added value perspective, soil capacity itself, from the financial assistance standpoint, conservation itself, and soil and water management. But not only is it beneficial to farmers, it's beneficial to everyone who live and breathe when you start to talk about conservation. Soil and water management practices and what they do and what it allows the farmers to do as farm operators. So from the environmental perspective, it's beneficial to anybody, whether you farm, whether you run a manufacturing operation, whether you're an employee or an employer. Either way, just the environment we live in itself, keeping the soil healthy itself, as well as making sure that those practices that are being implemented are dealing with and making sure we have a very safe type of environment, even from the air perspective, and particularly from our soil and from our water, those very basic natural resources. The other thing I just want to give a quick reference to is on drone practices. Now, I'm going to always keep this on the table, for where we are as an organization and where drones are from a technology perspective and how they've been utilized. And if you can go ahead and look at it and pull it up and look at it and look and see how drones are being utilized, from an agricultural standpoint, and it's growing. And it may be what some say that's sort of a new arena to a certain degree. We were fortunate. We were at a meeting not long ago, and I was so impressed with this young man. I was very impressed with him. I was impressed with him, first of all, he was young. When you get older, you can always be impressed with the fact that the person was young and they still got that energy. It's just impressive. You can say, one day I used to have energy like that. That don't impress him. When you're young, I say, you don't if you're not older, then you don't understand what I'm talking about. But I'm saying, I want you impressed. Oh, he's got that energy. He's got that level of figure about himself and how he speaks and how they move. I say, that's an impressive young person. And the other part that was impressive to me about him, being young and where he was within the context of his occupational career that he had chosen. He worked for USDA. He worked for USDA Farm Service Agency. Y'all can just say, yeah, that's right. Go FSA, go FSA, okay? So he worked for USDA Farm Service, that was the other part. The other part that I was very impressed with him about, he was a licensed drone operator. He was a licensed drone operator, and he understood very clearly how drones are being utilized more from an agriculture perspective and how they can use them and going out, even doing field visits. So he's licensed. So you said, well, you do his field visits and stuff out there. Well, US can't do it with USDA because it's not allowed. We don't use drones. But he knows that you can go out and do a field visit. If it's with Conservation Reserve Program, and say, got to go out and do an inspection on this field, you fly a drone, say, yeah, the grass are planted, yeah, the trees are growing, so he can do that and download and send the pictures back out. Get the field visit, here it is. So he understands that very well. That's just from a USDA perspective and from an occupational perspective. He gets the picture. He's young enough, and I can see him as he moves forward and having that understanding and those capabilities and grow more and dealing with his skills from that standpoint, that he may go more to the private. He also was a farmer. He may go into the private sector, but he scouted his field with the drone. So he understands that. As a farmer, and with his family farm, he knows how to use the drone, scout the fields, run checks and everything on it. Understand that if you have plants that may be stress areas and parts of your field, and you don't have to park you side by side at the end and walk across those big fields. Now again, he was impressed with the job. I figured he could do it. He figured with me, and I look out way out across that field. I said, man, I tell you what, I won't be on the other side over there today. If I can't drive out over there, ride out over there, I know you do it. Probably, I'm gonna walk on that across. But he's a young guy still. Keep on living. Keep on living. You will understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, we're going to talk about all that and understand this specific for those online and those person. It is the goal. So we look at what the goal is and what we want to achieve from a medium perspective. That everybody has a better understanding of how the resources can be utilized, the application process and how to access those resources, and even how we can partner and deal with referrals and stuff more for other individuals who may not know and need access to those particular services that could benefit them as individuals. Just being a neighbor, being a friend, and being a resident in a local community that's taking a leadership role and making that type of major contribution from a referral perspective and supporting your neighbors, your local community, the people in your area. Be a referral, be a support individual in the process, how to understand and how to access the resources and the benefits of those resources from an economic perspective, from an individual business enterprise, farm business enterprise perspective, from a housing perspective, conservation perspective, all of the above plus some. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. King. Now that you've heard why we're here and what we're here for, you're gonna listen to the panelists that we do have. Brady Rose, the FSA CEB, FSA Farm Loan Manager, Jason Gloriana, Kennard Williams, Outreach Coordinator. And
I've got somebody local here with NRCS this time.
okay.
Great.
She should be there.
Okay. All right, who is that?
Gary L. Stevens.
Gary Stevens. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And also we have Ms. Smith from Rural Development, which she has information there for you to grab and take with you. So next we're gonna start with FSA. Farm programs. I know, but it's hard.
Thank y'all so much for having me today. I'm gonna really, there's nothing much more to cover. Dr. King pretty much covered, but asked me to talk about a few things. One of those is air property. And I've been with FSA for 8 months, and I've dealt with 3 or 4 cases we've had in my time here, and every one of them was different. Every one of them very particular, very specific. With their property, there I've got some fact sheets over there. There's a couple of ways that we can establish a farm. I'll start with that. Be the better way to start. To establish a farm number, we need a few things. We need your basic information. We need you to fill out a 2047. I think I brought some of those over there, which is just a basic information form. And then we need some proof of ownership for the land. And so that's what we talk about, a farm number. It's pretty simple. That's the easiest part. To me, the easiest part of the job is to establish a farm. If you have those documents, we can get you enrolled at that farm, drawn off, and you're ready to go with any program that applies for FSA and NRCS. With air property, when an individual might have owned the property and has passed away, and there was no set way that property was going to go into another individual's hands, that deed might still be in the name of that individual who's passed away, and now ownership has moved into the descendants of that person. That's a pretty common thing. Well, in that situation, the deed's not in their name, and there's not a clear-cut way to that. And so, FSA, we have a few different ways that we can help with that, getting that taken care of. Simple things like tax returns. If you've got tax returns for the past 5 years, that's one avenue. Again, each one of those cases is very specific. And the easiest thing I would say, if you're in Clark County, is come talk to me. We'll find a route that works best as far as air property goes. It's kind of it's hard to explain the next one, because the next case, because you never know what it's going to be. There's different avenues. Two brothers don't get along, that can throw kinky things. There's a lot of different things that can complicate that. But we do have avenues to help with that, and at FSA, I know any office will be more than happy to help steer you in the right direction based off the situations at hand. CRP was listed. That's a Conservation Reserve Program. That's a program where if an individual, if you have land here in Clark County, conservation efforts, habitat work, those are kind of the more common CRP practices that we see here in our office here. If you have property that you want to see improved, whether that be erosion control, whether that be habitat work, wildlife, those are different things that we can use the CRP program to help. The way CRP is set up, you enroll your property in CRP, and you will then, based off of the assessment that's made of your property, you can be given an annual rental payment. Those contracts can be anywhere from 10 to 15 years, and but NRCS will go out and make a plan for you, and they give a few suggestions that you should take care of, and as long as you meet those suggestions, there's an annual rental payment, and there is the opportunity for cost share that can be available to do those. Some of those could be here in Clark County. We normally deal with people that are doing forest stand improvement practices, whether that be thinning out underbrush, clean that stuff, control burning. Those are some of the common things that we see here at CRP. That's not a very good explanation of CRP, but just like I said about air property, just about every one of those is a little bit different as to what the individual wants to see done on their property. And then micro-urban farming. Micro-urban farming, the FSA has I believe it's still in the works, a state, an office that is going to handle that. And we have kind of been told been in that direction when it comes to that, as far as it's in the works. They're setting the groundwork for it. Am I correct on that, Ms. Tommy?
Yes, look, Chandra Rucker is actually over there for the state.
And so if you're interested in any of those programs, I'd be more than happy to get you in contact with her. She's the current expert in that.
I ain't an expert.
Well, she knows she knows more about it than I do, but that's kind of that's a new thing coming out. I'm sure we'll learn more about that as we go. But any questions on any of that?
No, for some on that CRP program, yeah. One, you do have to have a CRP plan, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, FSA works with NRCS to develop.
Yes, sir.
That
NRCS will actually handle the field visits and make the plan suggestions that the producer might need to do on their property. And they will actually write a plan that we will then follow and implement on our side. They will actually go out and do the checks to make sure those practices have been completed throughout the lifespan of the contract.
other question is, and for clarity point, sometimes people may have heard of whichever, is that, say they do cover grasses, they put grasses out.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're taking out a farming operation.
Mhm.
They can't graze that.
No, sir. It's one of the aspects of the CRP contracts that I've had a part in working on. They refer to it as access control. You're devoting that property to conservation efforts, to habitat efforts, and grazing and any kind of hay production or anything like that. Farming pretty much not available for that property during the lifespan of that contract.
Okay. I just have one more.
Yes, sir.
Just in relation to that. And I know NRCS, creates the plan itself, and that's a conservation reserve program. On the other hand, NRCS, they also create all the other conservation plan, and in some of the, like a conservation easement, and if it's a permanent easement, after 15-year easement. Now, one of their programs, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, when they speak to that you can have a conservation, you can be in the easement program, a conservation easement program, receive program payments and still farm the land. Now you have to speak to that because I'm
not familiar with the conservation easement program.
I'm gonna let you talk about about
I can mess something up, but
okay. I wanted to ask that question in regards to, because I was looking at the conservation program, one, and then two, the conservation reserve program. That's the other side, and then the other phase that, which made sense to me because I was listening to some presentations on it, was that where possibly you could have land and be in a conservation program, reserve program being one, conservation easement being two. I was thinking possibly that was a regulation change requirement, but from what I've been able to gather and understand, and I'll ask for clarity from this from NRCS, is that they do have a conservation program, a conservation easement program, and the land could still be in farming operation or farming production. I don't know exactly how all of that would work.
That's under the grassland reserve.
The grassland reserve,
Which is the easement.
which is the easement,
Which is the easement.
which is it, but it's a conservation program.
Yes, it's conservation.
And that's right. It was the grassland reserve, grassland reserve.
Right.
And so, in relationship to that, from a conservation perspective, NRCS develops the conservation reserve plan. Could they develop a plan that's relative to conservation reserve practices that interfaces with the conservation grasslands program and using grass and use for livestock purposes? Because it is regulation now. I was questioning whether it was a regulation modification to change it. I ain't gonna talk about how I was, I like to talk a lot sometimes. That's question.
as far as we talk about, as far as those two programs working together.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the plan.
Yes.
I'm just talking about the plan, regulation from a plan perspective, okay? It's a conservation plan. That's a conservation plan as relates to easement. This is a conservation plan as relates to reserve. You don't have to answer that now.
I clear a lot of it. That's that question.
Yeah.
That's that question. I clear that up for you.
No worries. Thank you.
I clear that up for you.
All right, well, come on. Did y'all post Jamie, y'all wanna know anything about phone numbers or anything, or, no?
He talked about farm number,
Getting a phone.
establishing a farm number.
Yeah, I get
I
Well, he talked
He
about
did talk about it.
as it relates to getting that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a, it would be a barrier to getting the number.
I'm gonna hit it again a little bit too, so.
Yeah.
My name's Jason Foriati. I'm the farm loan manager in Clark and Hempstead County. I cover 9 different counties right now. Talk a little bit about our loans. But first, we're going to start off. Who's a beginning farmer? Can anybody tell me what a beginning farmer is?
Beginning farmer is anyone who has been in farming operation for less than 10 years, for 10 years or less.
And less than medium-sized farm in the county. Medium-sized farm in the county, Clark County, is 68.4 acres. So if you own 70 acres, you're coming in farm, you're a beginning farmer.
No, wait. It's based on years and acreage.
Yes.
That medium-sized farm.
Is that a new one?
That's new.
They like that all.
You got me on that.
I'm serious.
All right, we're going to start with the different loan types that we have. We have a direct farm ownership loan. This loan goes up to $600,000. The current rate on it is 5.75%. Term of 40 years. Can be used to purchase the farm, construct buildings, make capital improvements, soil and water conservation, and pay loan closing costs. I will tell you, if you go in and start trying to construct buildings on that, there are different steps we have to take. We have to do a engine consult, a historical consult, and fish and wildlife. So it's a lot of legwork to do there. Do our environmental due diligence on that. We also offer a participation loan under the farm ownership program. That has a little bit different rate, it would be 3.75%. These are the current rates I'm speaking of now. That's we do basically the same thing with that loan, but it's going to be participation. So if the loan is your request is 600, we're going to do 300, and the outside lender is going to do 300 as well. The outside lender, you're subject to their rates and terms. You do pretty much the same thing. We use those a lot with in this area for poultry house construction or large land purchases. So they can come in and we can max out at 600. They can max out at whatever they want max. They want to do $2 million, they do $2 million. And know what they want to do. Under that, we also have a micro loan. That limit is $50,000. The rate is the same on it. It's 5.75. It can be used to do the same thing, but it's a little different on the farm ownership or the micro. It's only got on the term between. All right, then we'll move over to our direct loans. That is, those have a separate limit of $400,000 loans. You can have $400,000 term loan and farm ownership loan. So they have 2 different limits: one's 6 and one's 4. Current limit's 5%. Depending on what you're buying, if you're buying like feeder cattle, it's going to be on an annual basis. If you're buying breed stock, it's going to be on a 1 to 7 year term. That loan is used to purchase livestock, poultry equipment, feed, seed, chemicals, supplies, anything like that. Family living costs. Be used for soil and water conservation and refinance debt with certain limitations. So if you had a tractor loan, John Deere, Kubota, whoever, if they're having a hard time making a payment or something of that nature, or it's got a high rate, we can look at trying to refinance that and maybe consolidate some different debts. Also under that same program, there's a micro loan. It's got this is the 50,000 limit on it. Anytime you exceed the 50, you're going to go into the OL, direct OL. So as long as you're under 50, you can have those little micro loans. They're pretty. Those micro loans are pretty common. If somebody come in want to buy a tractor, might have a small vegetable operation, or maybe a farm truck. I mean, just used for a wide variety of different things. Somebody wants to start a small cattle operation, or maybe even got like a small soybean operation they want to do. And they come from all different sizes, shapes, and forms. We do those always. We also have emergency loans. They have to be disaster declared in your county. That loan has a limit of $500,000. you also have to have a loss of 30%. Those come out here and there, drought, weather, I mean, just different rain, storms, straight line winds, they come out for all different stuff. You get a lot of snow, sometimes they'll come out. You can use those to restore or replace essential property, pay all the part of production costs associated with the disaster year. You can use for essential family living, reorganize the farming operation, and you can use it to refinance debt as well. Well, you mentioned something, Dr. King, on earlier on the guaranteed loans. That's a different loan that's hung back with the bank. So you're gonna have to find a lender that does guaranteed loans. Those have a max of 2.251 million currently. You're subject to the bank rates and terms on those. They're pretty much, ultimately, you're the bank's customer, the bank is our customer. So we're gonna deal directly with the bank on them, work them all out. Review them. We have 3 different types of lenders in the state. We have a standard, certified, and preferred. Majority of the lenders are standard lenders that we deal with, but we do have preferred, and it's different amount of information they have to submit to us. Those loans are ultimately the same as the direct loans for the uses, and the terms and all that are pretty much the same. Usually when you get a guaranteed loan for farm ownership, you're probably not going to get a 40-year loan. You're more going to get a 20 to sometimes 30. I know the majority of the ones we see in our area are on 20 years, which we do a lot of poultry here. We build chicken houses like it's one out of style. So it's, you get outside of Arkadelphia, even any direction you're going to see a chicken house. They're just all over the place. That's pretty much our loan types. Anybody got any questions?
Oh, correct. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One is on the conservation loan, you say it's up to 600,000.
That's the farm ownership.
Huh?
Farm ownership.
Farm ownership, okay.
That's perfect.
But your conservation loans are not on that 600,000 side.
Mm.
Is the conservation loan on the side, the 600,000 is on the side for the 400,000.
That was water conservation. You can soil and water. Yeah, you can do it on both the farm ownership and the.
So you can do it either.
You can do
So
either side.
okay, so
Might be cleaning the well or
right.
build a reservoir or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You get a lot of those. The ones that I've done, a lot of those have been wells. When I was in the northeast part of the state, there were quite a few people coming in wanting big wells to grow crops.
So on that side, then you could do a conservation plan with NRCS and then conservation loan spread finance, say up to 20 years on that 600 side.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests sometimes when they go get an equip plan.
Right.
From NRCS, and it's a cost share program. They'll come in and get the funds from us until they get paid from RCS.
Right.
Right. We can help do that as well.
Would you class that as a participation loan? Now, when I say participation, if you're just gonna get the long-term finance that says 90% or 80% on the financial system side, and you were gonna do 20% additional need for financing, could you put that other 20% on that 600,000 conservation side over a period of, say, 20 years to create a more feasible type of plan for a farming operation?
Most of those are put under a term loan for 7 years, and they're not
7 years max.
They're not a participation loan either.
Okay, so you can't class them as participation.
That participation loan was without action outside lending.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, my other question on that, you gave reference to the to the guarantee loan, and I may have to come back to the program side on this, but 2 things on the program side. I should have asked when they were there. One is the guarantee with the bank as a loan, that's one. And this is one, say, traditional scale of banks. And then you have the guaranteed irrevocable letter of credit, which is with the bank, with FSA, on the CCC loans. Okay. Now, does that operate on your program side or on your loan side?
CCC.
CCC loans are on the
program
program
side.
side.
Okay, so CCC loans on the program side. Okay,
They do them, they do the ones we review them.
you review the loan.
Yes, sir, I'm gonna review it for cash flow purposes.
Okay, and the security is held by because I've never known the program side to hold any mortgages or liens.
Yeah, they'll follow mortgage and UCC just like we will.
Now, you talking about that loan that they get where they're hold of the grant and sell it, not.
Exactly. That's the CCC, the commodity credit, you got the CCC loan, the commodity credit corporation. Of course, CCC loans are guaranteed by bank, by the other party. And they're guaranteed by way of an irrevocable letter of credit, which is the guarantee, irrevocable letter of credit is guaranteed. You guarantee it with any other bank, you guarantee 90% or 80%, whichever on that loan. So that's a guarantee, and it's the bank also. But you're saying all the mortgages and everything is held by the program side, not by the.
When they do that, they're gonna file a UCC. That's what they're gonna do on that. If it's corn in the bin, that they got a loan on, they're gonna put a UCC at that work.
So they file the CCC, the program side files the CCC on the loan side based on the grain, the CCC loan has been made. But see, you have two different types of loans in place then. You have the CCC loan as relates to the security basis of the crop shows and how that's paid. And then you have the loan side that's a part of construction and facility.
Yeah, I mean, ours is completely separate from theirs. Ours is gonna be used pretty much for the same purposes as a direct lending. And it's just had a larger limit on it.
Right.
What we do is, depending on if you're a beginning farmer or not beginning farmer, we're gonna back that loan 95 to 90%. So 95 if you're a beginning farmer and 90 if you're a non-beginning farmer. So if they come in and there's a loss on that operation, the bank goes in and pretty much sells everything they've got a lien on.
Right.
Say it's 300,000 left, we're gonna pay them ultimately 90% of that, as long as they've done everything that's in the agreement with us.
Okay, that's on the grain side. Okay.
Mhm.
And then on the facility side itself, which is like having whatever equipment loan, except it's a long-term financing.
The farm facility loan.
Commodity, the CCC loan. When you have the CCC loan, Commodity Credit Corporation portion, you have the loan file on the grain storage. You got that side of the loan, and then you have the construction loan. Okay, so you have the construction loan for the actual grains themselves, and the security base of that is behind. It's a guarantee behind a bank, the irrevocable letter of credit, which serves as a guarantee.
I would have to do some research. We're mostly cattle country. I've never had to dive into that yet. I've actually had training that's scheduled a few weeks ago.
I'm in the wrong part of the state to be asking.
The only farm facility loans that we really do are like building grain fields.
Yeah.
Or we may purchase a
Hey, Barney.
barn or.
That
We're all like this area.
This area, okay, those type of grain, not the big grain deal.
We have very, well, I mean, I have 9 counties and I have no road crop in this area. Any road crop. I had one when I first came down here about over 8 years ago.
Yeah.
He had for 1 year and he decided he's not gonna road crop anymore. Yeah, we don't have any road. We have them along the river. I mean, y'all probably found them. You got them down here farther past us, but they use a local lender to finance them.
My other question is on the EM loans. And of course, I know this is back on the program side. I really should have got him with this while he was up there. Just what the status point is.
Which one is it first?
Oh, well, yeah.
We did a lot.
Yeah, you do the emergency, but you don't do the market support payments.
No.
Yes.
Farm program.
Yeah. And I'm probably the wrong
I
part of
would
the
have to do
state.
some digging to get back.
I'm on the wrong part of the state.
I work cows, I don't know anything about beef.
But they also have a program out for chicken producers as well. What's exactly happening with that now?
As far as I'm,
On the USDA, I don't know if it was the disaster payments. You know, they had a lot of loss in relation to chicken and the flu issues and all that was going on with chicken. And they came out with the program. And another one, I'm not sure which one it was here.
We've had very few bird flu in this area.
I have not heard anything about any
Okay, so
poultry program.
So Arkansas didn't get designated, I guess, on that. Okay.
Luckily, we didn't have a lot of that. I've heard of a few, but it's not that much.
Okay, so as far as the EM and emergency loan program, then, back to that, you gave reference to having to have at least a 30% loss. So that same thing would apply to poultry production. I'm assuming you have 30% loss in the operation.
You do poultry, as long as that county is declared a disaster.
It was a declared disaster, so the same thing would apply as relates to timber producers, poultry producers.
But I don't know anything with them.
Do nothing with them. Wrong question, wrong area. Yeah,
We're established.
If you got a question about cows and chickens, that's pretty much all I do.
okay,
I
that's fair.
buy cattle and build chicken houses like. I mean, you'll see on the news, they're saying there's an egg shortage. I'd like to know where, because I've not stopped building chicken houses.
Yeah, that's not.
That's all I'm building is breeding houses. I mean, they're going up quick as we can get them done. There's some of these integrators are actually doing a new house incentive where they're paying them to actually build them. And they're coming back, they're getting incentive over a period of time too. So there's a lot of people building them because that some of these houses, they've always been certain different sizes. Now they want wider and longer.
Wow.
They want mega houses. So I've seen some 53s by that started at 6, went to 650. I mean, we're talking about big chicken houses. They're all they're doing is putting more birds in there, so it's a mass growth. Because remember, it's kind of like the swine. So we got the swine out there, so down in Gipstick, it's considered a mega complex. They want more of those. Trying to find somebody that wants to fund one of those, it's a chore. If somebody wants to go that far in debt, they are very, very expensive.
Where's the market on that now? Well, as far as
They grow. They have an integrator just like poultry, but it's JM SWAT. What you told me?
So anything in dealing with those types of facilities, and you're dealing with financing for those, say we put together a business plan for one, then they have to have, one, the land everyone to put it on, but then they have to also show proof of access to the market.
Yes, yeah, so that's a marketable product.
So
It's cattle or row crop.
There are contract.
There are contracts. That's a good.
A lot of the poultry growers will have.
Yeah, so most of the time, you go and find it, you gotta have a contract.
Yeah.
They're getting your operating costs for it.
Most of our poultry integrators usually gonna make it along, they're gonna have a 10-year contract.
Mm.
And there's nothing to say when it's happening, they can come in and pull that contract on you too. And you're just, you could be doing something wrong, you could be one of their lower growers. Just any little thing, they'll pull the contract out.
Are they normally market flexibility contract or is it set? From the price?
It's set.
It's set.
It's
from
set by
price.
the.
So if you got a 10-year contract, operating cost goes up, price the same.
You own that pride. That's
Yeah.
why you'll see a lot of people, they might be breeder, for a lot of breeders, got boilers that pull that still. This broiler bullets might switch. Bullets might make a little bit more than a bullet, but it's not very common. They'll come in at high prices. They can high price in the middle of that contract too, which benefits you. We've had a little bit of price increase here lately.
Right.
They also, those are your common 4 to 6 house operations. We don't have you go up to some parts of the state, there's 10 house operations. Right. They don't get that big down here. We do have one integrator that's it's called Vital Farms and Stagecoach.
Right.
They're organic. Majority of the time, they're organic operation. And it's a breeder operation. It's one house operation. But that operation is built on 56 acres.
Wow.
So what it is you've got a chicken house in the middle, and you've got hopefully 8 hens around. On the sides of those chicken houses are doors. So it's Monday, they might be in pen 1, they'll open that door and the chickens can go outside. So the class time is free range. And I don't know how many of you have been into a chicken house, but the majority of the time you walk in, that chicken is white. Walk on those, they're red. They lay brown eggs. That company is actually out of Missouri, and a lot of times those eggs go back. They'll go back to Missouri, and a lot of times they're going back out to the West Coast. They'll stay there in the sun, but they're shipping those things all over the place. There is some conventional, but not very many, but most of them are organic. That's a booming type.
And most of those loans made with a guarantee or just a direct operating loan? Because again, they are expensive.
Those usually, you're looking about 1.3 million for one house.
That's not a direct loan.
That's not a direct loan. We normally do come in on those operations and help. I've done them with the participation loan.
Right,
Bank, of course, is obviously doing more than us.
right.
Well, we come in a lot of those, they come in and get off there. Because unlike your Tyson houses, they own the birds and they keep bringing the feed. These buy the farmhouses, you buy the birds, you buy the feed. So it's a little bit different. And those chickens are actually on an 80-week cycle. Not your, they keep those chickens a lot longer.
Oh, wow.
What happens is you buy those chickens, they're hatched, raised, they're kept in a separate house for 17 weeks before you ever get them. They come in, they place them at 17 weeks, those birds are laying eggs. You don't get a lot of income at the first week, but the second week you're taking off. You're projecting, I've got one right now, the feed projected just on 52 weeks is over $500,000.
Oh, wow.
So the feed is high. But the income off of them, they have a lot bigger pay scale on them. So at 52 weeks, you're probably just projecting over $1 million. They have a lot. There's a lot big difference in those.
No, you said $1 million return off of.
No. It's projected million in income before any expenses come out. So you got $1 million.
I just start paying. I'm ready to move over here.
You got your bird cost on this. You got $1 million, and let's say it's $571 in feed. Those birds cost $175.
Yes.
So there's a lot that comes out of that.
Right. Yeah.
Their projections on them are usually a little bit. They're quite a bit more than what our normal just for normal integrators run.
Yeah.
They're a little harder to get contracts on too.
And this is my last question in regards to the chicken. Okay. I'm trying to understand, and as everybody consumers want to know also. I asked a question about set price, which is for a reason. 10-year projection, set price, operating cost goes up for the producer, income, both gross and net goes down. Okay. Then you have the other side of the market. Because you got a set 10-year price, and where producers are locked in, and the market is buying. And then on the consumer side, on the other side, prices are double on the consumer side. So who's getting the money? Okay. I'm just trying to do it. I'm just trying to pay a lot more money.
I'm saying it's that integrated.
Yeah, that's it.
The integrated because they guarantee you the producer's money.
No, what I'm listening to you. Looks like you really look out for your producers. I'm just trying to say I'm a consumer now. I'm just saying, okay,
People might go up $2 in the grocery store.
so
they 3 years they might get a 2-cent increase.
Right.
yeah.
No, it's not going to.
Yeah,
They're
so,
not going to get that big fluctuating increase with them. It's not going to go and float down and come back.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to understand the base. You said all this production, supply and demand, cost for production based on the supply, and then against what the demand is that's out there, and then the demand on the consumer side is twice. And you're saying locked in 10-year period.
That's a lot, but I mean.
What I'm saying, like normally on the base, you talk about set. So when
Right.
you did set, I said, that we sort of here on this as far as ultimate overall returns to the producer, based on the operating expenses and things of that nature, so and that's an inclusion of both the capital expenses along with the operating expenses if you built a new chicken house and things of that nature. So that you got some set cost figures that's there from the capital side, but then the operating side, cost wise, we all know what's going there. Operating costs to go up, and then you have what I'm trying to get some assessment of is a set price side with very little flexibility. From that perspective, because that's an adverse effect upon the producer. But on the other side, the consumer, you're paying 2 to 3 times more than what it was. You go back 10 years, 5 years or so, and producers sort of locked in. So I was going to come back to the program side and ask about subsidy pay for chicken producer, but I'm not going to ask that because you already got the wrong question, wrong part of the country. I got it.
As far as the program side goes, one of our biggest programs is NAP grazing policy. We are NAP grazing policies and NAP program.
Yeah,
That's pretty much our bread and butter with cattle producers over in this part of the world.
it's grazing.
It's grazing. We have a few row croppers. I have pitched in Nevada, Clark County, but between all 3 of them, I probably got how many row croppers do I have this time?
I'm not bad.
Well, overall, probably 15. 15 total.
Bad.
Yeah, it's and so we are more we handle a lot more cattle producers than
It's not a road crop mark because obviously, well, distance.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the eggs.
They're coming down. They're coming down a little bit.
And I want to add, the thing about poultry on them integrators, if they tell you they want a 6.8 pound bird, and if you do a 7 pound bird, you're gonna be documented. And if you keep doing that, they don't care if you owe FSA $1 million.
You lose the market. I understand.
It's crazy. It's no, I'm like, they control everything.
Yeah.
And it's
So-
all on the,
Yes.
how well they do or how well they don't do, is how they get paid.
even though you own the houses, you're their employee.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to deal with buying and selling. It's a buying with produce. You deal with the same process on grading. So your marketplace, you're dealing with size and quality yourself. Same thing back at the chicken market. So if a squash supposed to be a certain size based on grade, and you got to put it into the market at that grade, that size level, and that quality level. As far as perfection itself is concerned. Same thing with sweet potatoes. Same thing with cucumbers, peas. Same thing. Mine with the vegetable side. So. For the supply, but if you continue to put into that marketplace oversized and putting in, which is a grayed out field, you're gonna lose. Then you're gonna lose the market. And the same thing back to chicken. So I understand the buy and sell process.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out, how I'm paying twice as much as what Yeah, I'm on the farming side.
Right.
Okay.
I'm definitely on the
Oh,
farming
I'm saying, no. If we knew the answer to that question, that'd be $1 million question.
We'd be sitting here with you.
I understand.
I told you yesterday was the last day.
I understand. Yeah.
I still wanna know why reports are, why the reports are so.
Well, yeah, we have the same thing. I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to figure out across the board on the farm, on the grain side, on the beef side, on the pork side.
Well, you'll see beef right now, and beef was the same situation. It's through the roof right now. Price of beef is high.
That's true.
The market will fall out. When it will fall out, nobody knows. But when it does, beef more likely is not going down that grocery store.
That's right.
Every state of it.
Yeah.
You still be paying your $7 a pound for ground beef and, $15 a pound for steak. It's not going down.
Have y'all seen more producers doing grow-out operations? The price has been better for the past couple of years. The price has been doing very, very well on beef. But have you seen individuals doing more of the grow-out?
They're calling about it.
Got the plant. So we either oats or something during the winter months, bring in, at a certain weight, once stuff and then try to graze them out, graze and feed combination,
Right.
grain combination, grow out over 3-4 months and put in the marketplace and then convert back to crops.
Very few. That's a very risky market too, for the fact of the prices right now. You go in, you buy a calf, you buy a calf at say 600 pounds at $3 a pound, just on a number, but you go back and sell it and the market falls out, you're gonna lose. It's gonna be bad.
But would you buy 600 versus 400?
It just
Sometimes.
Different operations have different,
Yeah.
different goals.
You'll have some at 3, some buy at 6, and want to get them to 8 and 9. It floats all over.
Right.
We don't have a lot of those. We've got a few that do them. They're hit and miss. That's a big gamble when you do those.
I mean, farming,
It's all we're more, we're more cow cat.
Yeah.
We're more on that side.
Cow. Okay. That makes sense.
That's the majority of them. I mean, there's some that'll do it, but not a whole lot.
That's my last question, Tyler.
We know better.
Okay. We know that. All right, thank you, for Farm Service Agency. If you have questions, and want to stop by to visit, Brady Road, the FSA that you call him, just for farm numbers, to establish a farm number, farm track number, and all, and, you would see FSA farm program, Jason, Floriana, you would, for a farm, loan, guarantee, operating loan, your micro loan, so you would see them. And next we'll take that farm number to NRCS. He's gonna come up and tell us what he can give you, and you will benefit from it. So let's give Sonora Williams a hand.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
My name is Kennard Williams. I'm currently the state Natural Resource Conservation State Outreach Coordinator. I also serve as the BFR coordinator, which is the Beginning Farm and Rancher Coordinator for NRCS Arkansas. I'll go over a couple programs, and then I'll feedback off some of the FSA information that they provided earlier. The Natural Resource Conservation Service, we provide as we started, the agency started, it goes back to in the 30s. Started at the Dust Bowl. Protect our soils is where we started at. Just a little background, we went from Soil Conservation Service to Natural Resource Conservation Service, name change in 94, 95, that area. So instead of just addressing soils from the Dust Bowl, we started addressing all natural resources, which is we consider the air, the plants, the animals, the human factor of it, along with the soils. So that's pretty much our background. We provide conservation plans, and it started as in the Dust Bowl due to the Dust Bowl era. One of our biggest programs we talked about earlier is the EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. What that program is all the NRCS programs are voluntary. We don't have anything that's mandatory. They're all voluntary. And that program actually provides technical assistance. CTA is what we call conservation technical assistance that just come out to help the producers put conservation on the ground. We try to come out and help you address the any resource concern. Resource concerns is just a problem you may have out on your farm, but we call them resource concerns. And we come out and try to help those producers to address those issues and those problems. We'll start with the technical assistance part of it, and then we go to the financial assistance, in which EQIP supports that financial to help you to address that. The EQIP, our main two financial assistance program is EQIP as well as CSP, and that's our conservation stewardship program. Jason mentioned, not Jason, but Brandon mentioned earlier about the small farm initiative, the urban and small farm initiative. NRCS, we also have a small farm and urban, which we feed off FSA. That initiative, we also provide conservation assistance for small and urban producers. And a lot of those small practices we have, the high tunnel, we see a lot of those across the state. Do y'all have many in this area? A few. So some of the high tunnels, the low tunnels, and those practices usually help producers get in crops and earlier, and they can actually extend the growing period, growing season, because frost and things like that, it actually protects them because you have a cover. The only difference between a high tunnel and a lot of folks look at a greenhouse. A greenhouse is concrete. You put them in trays and things like that. Your actual high tunnel, you plant it in the soil under your covers, which is the difference between a high tunnel and a greenhouse. The low tunnel is actually just go over the rows. It still protects. So you may have some crops that you may want to have out in the open, and you may want to have some that's just covered, and that protects from wind, from wind damage, rain damage, and things like that. Because sometimes when rain splashes up on your produce, it can actually cause like different fungus and things like that that come from the soil. So you may want to do a low tunnel, which is covered just that particular row, and you may have some of your crops that grow taller, like okra, corn, things like that, grows taller. So you wouldn't actually need a cover to protect your fruit or your vegetables. We do a lot of cover crops even under the small tunnels or even under the high tunnel. We'll also incorporate a lot of cover crops in our row crop operation. And what that does is protect the soil, keep it from washing off. Always remember soil. I'm gonna ask the question first. Y'all know the difference between soil and dirt, right? What's dirt?
That's what the sweep off the floor.
Okay, okay. What's soil?
So what you brought?
All right. I got a good group today. That's correct. Soil is actually a living organism, and it can actually grow. Dirt, sweep off your floor, won't grow anything.
Right.
Or you put it at the vacuum cleaner. That's dirt. That's the vacuum cleaner bag. It won't grow a thing.
That's right.
You put some water on it and it never grows. But soil is a living organism, and then it actually grow a plant, produce our food fiber. Even the grass and the cows have to eat. So so soil is very, very important. You have to protect it so you can actually grow it. So, all right, good one. That was a good one. All right, and we do have a lot of other conservation practices that's covered under EQIP. Even our small and urban initiative is covered under EQIP. That's another EQIP that's different categories. We do have a young lady here today from our local office, Miss Stevens, that she'll come up and speak a little bit early. So I want, if y'all have some specific questions for our county or for Arkadelphia County in this area for Southwest, she'd be more than happy to answer them. I can answer questions as well. I cover the whole state. So I will give you my phone number at the end. So if you have any questions or if you have any problems across the state of Arkansas, just let me know. I don't mind following up with you and providing to help you on that part of it. CSP, Conservation Stewardship Program. That program is also a conservation program that enhances producers from the EQIP stage to another level. I'll give you an example. A lot of farmers, and we can even do it with grass producers. Just basic, you plant grass. We say we plant Bermuda grass or fescue, whatever they plant in the pasture. And then you turn around and do a soil test. So the soil test is going to give you the basic analysis of what that crop may need, what that grass may need. Well, under CSP, if you enhance it, you'll take that grass and you actually do the analysis of the grass and then tell you based on the grass or the leaf and say, okay, this plant is missing this nutrient, or this nutrient compared to just soil. So it'll be a lot more specific. Because a lot of times your extension office or you send it to a private lab and they'll tell you exactly what that plant is missing or what that plant may need nutrient wise. So that's taking it to a whole nother level. And the good thing about NRCS, our programs do not have an acre requirement. So we don't say you're a farm, you're not a farm based on acres. Anybody can get a farm. As long as you get the FSA, get a farm number, track number, you can become eligible for our programs. And a lot of times those programs, it would consist of the information that you need to activate that farm and track number. You have to do a 1026. That's your highly erodible land and wetland determination. You do a 941, which is AGI, which is your adjusted gross income. That's saying that you make less than 900,000 a year. And that's adjusted income. That's after you take out the expenses. You have to do a 901 or 902 if you're individual or your entity. That's setting up, that'll set up here. That's you have to do that with FSA. That'll set up you as an individual. And that's where you say you have to show your ownership, things like that. That part of it. You have to do your 2047 as well as that 901 to actually set your farm and track number up with FSA. So always you start with FSA. Our system, NRCS system, feed off of FSA system. If you're eligible next door at FSA, get everything in there, start there, and then it all roll over to NRCS office. And you'll be able to qualify, and you're eligible with FSA, you're eligible with NRCS, and you can actually pull that information, and you'll be able to all out any and all our programs.
On that subject, I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to apply, if you apply for equal Bernard Wiggins?
Okay.
You gotta sign up with FSA as Bernard Wiggins.
Yes, that's because we're gonna pull that information from the FSA system. Now, that's as an individual. Say if Bernard Williams is involved in it's the ABC Produce LLC. So Bernard Williams has to be eligible, and whoever else is in that entity has to be eligible to be able to qualify, because it's gonna give us a tag, a N tag that means no for eligibility on our system, on NRCS system. So yes, that question, an individual, they have to be aligned and approved as Kennard, and then an ABC Produce LLC has to have both individuals in that LLC to be eligible to be able to sign up for NRCS program.
Reason I asked that question, because we have a lot of people coming in. Because if your wife signs up sometimes for certain stuff, it's free. So they're going to sign up on our end for now.
Okay.
As Tony Washington.
Okay.
And then want to go over to Eagle and sign her up. And my husband.
Right.
You're going to feel like you're going to do one or the other.
Right. It will not.
Right.
It will not. Our system will if it's not in our system.
Exactly.
So it has to be it has to be an FSA system for us to be able to do any program. Now, don't get me wrong, we can provide you technical assistance. We can come out there and provide you technical assistance. We can do your conservation plan. But you won't be, that's the technical part of it, but we won't be able to provide any financial assistance.
Right.
So that's the key to that part of it. Great question. Well, since was there any other questions? So I'm gonna open that part of it, and then I'll let Ms. Stevens, if she can want to explain anything additional in the program part that I missed. I know Mr. King had a couple of questions that he wanted to address, so we're going to get that.
I think about use of time that I don't have to talk about our resource services as long. But let me just say this. With Equip, well, two things. One, did I understand FSA correctly? They said that the beginning farmer, the maximum acres is 68.5 acres.
That's in Clark County. It changes per county.
That's just in that county.
That's just this county.
Oh, okay.
When you go over in some of your row crop counties, it could be 100 to 200, maybe 3. It's
500 or more.
It's different per county. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So
It's based on the average farm size
in that county.
In that county.
Gotcha.
Let's say Lee County. Lee County is 1,168 acres. It's the average size.
Yeah.
So that's. When you turn around and go to Phillips County, I think it's 968. So each county has a different average farm size.
Yeah, to qualify as a beginning farm.
Right. Your row crop counties are definitely larger.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When you said that's a
that was just
okay.
Yeah. When you look up some of the other counties where you have a lot of small, let's say chicken out, you have someone that's 30, 40, even 28. And I've been to some different places. Even when I was in the Philippines, there was actually an acre and a half or a half an acre was their average in the county. For that county, that particular county. So it's based on the average size for whichever county you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question. They talked about the range ticket So if the individual is gonna do range chicken production, can a kind of hoop house fit within that eligibility arena? You're doing range chicken production, certain practices you're going to employ as relates to chicken production inside the hoop house. And then of course the range production, you said the other, I was just curious,
That's gonna be on the integrator.
Yeah.
They've got that specific.
They'll let you come in and get like goats, sheep, stuff like that. It's easy to move. But as far as put the out inside of them, you gotta remember a lot of times these houses are being built from cutovers and there'll be taller grass. And they're not going there to manicuring and keeping all this stuff clean.
okay.
It might be in this old cutover. They come in and cleaned up the house is going. They're going around and building that fence for them. So I mean, it's.
So with the integrated, you can put goats and sheep in as the integrated.
They'll let you put them in and rotate them. They can't be in with the chickens.
Yeah.
But they'll let you rotate them. So like I said earlier, pen once a day. It might be a pen 8. So they're stay. They're keep them away from them.
Okay.
You know, birds are susceptible to disease. You know bad. And right now, with the way the birds do, they probably don't own them in their hall. Yeah.
I guess the other thing on that, does the producers in this area, one, do they meet the eligibility criteria? Do they utilize equipment as far as rotation and soil nutrient practices and all that?
Here we've got a lot of the pasture practices.
Pasture practices also.
And then also piggyback off the chicken houses or the litter shed, stacking sheds. That's a common.
Eco drums.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a different form of incinerator.
Right.
It's ultimately a composter.
Right.
Okay.
And then even our few row croppers that we do have, they utilize it here in the county.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the rope. I was trying to.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to have understanding one reason.
Trying to figure out where that fits in this.
Yeah, well, I was trying to see how the CSP and the type of practices that are dealt with relative to chicken producers and both those that are dealing with concentrated contained production as well as those that are doing range production.
There are we can have practice.
Yeah, that's another thing. There are chicken practices that actually can cover under equip. I know the good one about that Jason was talking about with eco-drone.
Yeah.
You know, I know some of we hadn't had any, well, it's just a blessing. We hadn't had any of the flu in this part, but some of the other part of northern one Missouri and that kind of stuff. The eco-drone. And what it does, once you have an outbreak or you have to destroy the chicken, that eco-drone can actually put them in as like a silhouette. But at the end of that, it's almost like a fertilizer, dry powder that you can almost use as fertilizer when it comes out the end of it. So NRCS actually, or the EQUIP program actually covers that practice.
Okay.
That's a resource concern or a problem or issue that our chicken house or chicken producers may have, and then we can help them address those issues like that through EQUIP. Also, the rotational grazing and talking about with the chicken, we can also help on that rotational grazing, and that'll be the inside fencing. Now we don't pay for the perimeter fence. We can't. It's cost share of the perimeter fence. But all those cross fencing you talking about, they have like 8 pins.
Yeah, that's right.
So you got all that cross fencing on the inside of those, inside of that.
Right.
NRCS can actually help pay for that cross fencing and those gates to open up one from each one of them. So that rotational grade and that part of it, NRCS can actually cost share. I don't know if your farmers take advantage of this, but they need to start taking advantage of it.
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
As far as cattle operations, before I've said.
Yeah, but y'all can start thinking about the chicken. They don't.
Those are really at first those were targeting certain area. Now they're broadened out.
Right.
It's changing because those.
So y'all start looking at the help some of those producers when they start doing. If they start thinking about that, and well, you know, you can have these.
They were at first.
Yeah.
They were at first. Those kind of houses, like what you're saying, they were all north part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're moving back down. They're starting. They want them down here. It's cooler.
Right.
It stays warmer down here, so the utility bills and the birds are staying home.
So those are some practices that you start looking at when y'all start talking, producing the farmers. And we have our local office that can actually help and assist with that part of. So work with the local office. Ms. Stevens, she's actually our resource conservation for the area, for the Southwest area. So she covers this area. She covers all the counties that y'all cover as well. Matter of fact, I think she has a few more, a little bit more than you all. And I'll let her discuss and go over that part of it. But yes, Equip does cover quite a bit of the chicken housing problems, issues, the grazing as well.
Right.
But the pastures, the soil health part of it, where you pasture ground. So I start looking at when you do soil tests. It'll tell you if you need your NPK. One thing about your pasture, if your lines, a lot of times you'd be surprised at the number of farmers and producers that hadn't done soil tests. And then when they realize when they do a soil test, they tell them they may need lime. You can throw all the fertilizer you want to at an operation with that grass.
Yeah.
But if your lime, your pH is not at the right level, it'll never take it up.
That's true.
It'll sit there. It won't grow. But as soon as you put that lime and that component that you need there, so really you actually help them save money once they turn around and say, hey, I just need lime. You may be at ultimate level on your NP and K, but you want, why my grass not growing? Why don't I have good, nice grass? It's because the pH levels may be down. And you don't know that until you do your soil test. One good thing about Arkansas is soil test. In all counties, it's free. Go take it to your extension office. The extension office, you take your soil sample, and they'll show you how to do the grid on it, and do your soil sample. Take it in the extension office. It'll take a couple of weeks, get that analysis back, and you can determine what you may need on that operation. And it can be cattle, it can be row crop. So any operation, you make the chicken that they rotate free range, chicken that free range chicken, your produce, vegetable operation. So you make sure you take advantage of the things that's out there for you. Some of these states, those
Does Equip pay for, putting lime out?
well,
Yes, that's a new product.
it's under nutrient management. And what they don't specifically say lime, they calculate it in that price. It's a
Nutrient.
Call it nutrient management. Is a practice that we have to address that resource concern, that nutrient resource concern. All right, Mr. King, I know you had another one. You beat up Jason them. Brandon and Jason both. I know you had another question.
You know, we always call these round table discussions. It's just they instead of a round. We actually discussions because we record everything and then when we put it back up on the website and stuff, so people can really truly understand and see. You know, we engage in discussions and deal with clarity of understanding of the program services, how they operate within the context of a region or an area, and different type of farming operation. But you know, that's why I engage in so much conversation, Jason. You know, some UST people do think I pick on. I don't. Now, Mr. Williams, no, I don't. He know they did.
I'm a fellow people now.
I
Brother and sister agency.
But you know the question that I had, I guess more of a statement than anything, that even whatever type of farming operation that individual may be engaged in, chicken producer, particularly those that are dealing with range, type of production, they should get a conservation plan on those operations. So you to identify, what the needs are, one, and then two, what the program service opportunities are, then every farm should have a conservation plan developed, and see how those plans fall within the context of certain program eligibility. It's just life.
And it also helps Jason in too when they're going in and doing if they go and apply for a loan, they have those plans already established and saying, okay, I need this and this and this, and then it'll probably even help them and say, well, okay, you're gonna get this part done, or you got a contractor that can say to take that part, that 90% or 75%. So they say, well, you don't need 20% from me or 10%.
Well, I think a lot of the reasons why they don't do the conservation plans, when they build those things, they're pretty much when they get that loan, they've got a birthday.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
and they got to have all that ready
to go.
Yeah, you're thinking range chickens and you think they're going outside all the time. They're not. So if I put all the pizza and the Coke on the counter that you wanted to eat all day, like what they got feed and water, turn the lights down and turn the TV on, what's a lot of people gonna do? They're gonna sit there on the couch. Them birds are sitting there with that feed and water set.
They're going outside.
They might go out just a little bit, but they're not going far, especially if they get in areas with one fox and stuff. That thing's a hawk magnets.
Who's down the middle?
You know, I always have this relationship to conservation and any farming operation. That conservation practically is a part of quality control. You know, quality control because it's a basis of dealing with added value in one sense, but of quality type of production practices as relates to both water itself, non-contamination itself, as well as the health of the soil. And then what's being produced both on the soil and then what's coming from the soil. The quality base of that within the context of the farming operation. So any major business enterprise, manufacturing, processing units, and things of that nature, quality control is at the top of the list. Quality control working with and dealing with the product that you're producing and what's coming out and going into the marketplace. Same thing applies back to the farmer, and that's from perspective all the way through to ready for the marketplace. So quality control is a part of conservation, and in that operation itself, but also within the context of the community and as a whole, because of soil and water management and that, as it relates to air quality and things of that nature. So that's why I say conservation plan, quality control, points to that.
All right, did you want to ask a question about the easement stuff, Mr. King?
I did have the basis about the easement and those practices because easement, either permanent easement, temporary easement. One of the programs you said that was grassland. That you can have it in the easement program and you're paid for the part of conservation easement, but you can still use it as part of a farming operation doing production on those lands.
And that's pretty much your hay operation, grazing, that stuff.
Grazing things like that.
But that's the only program that I know of.
Right,
that
okay.
you can do that on. Now, they did have some provisions on the CRP under disaster years. They would allow, but they had some stipulations on there that allow them to graze that type of stuff. But that was only in disaster years, drought. So that has happened before. But the grassland reserve is the only program that you can do it. Is there written in that conservation, that plan that you can grade or hay it and that type of stuff. So,
okay, well, I was familiar with disaster and some that 50 years back, and then you could graze during disaster years, shortages and pay and all that nature in working with the farming operation to take a graze on that. But I was just saying from a general practice perspective,
only European grassland reserve.
Okay, I'm the grassland reserve
Yes,
program. You can do it, you can graze it. But you couldn't have that as a part of a conservation plan with the conservation with CRP. So CRP, and you instead of cutting it once a year, that you come in and graze the cattle for a period of time and then move them out.
No, only other option, if you got a contract, a CRP contract, then you decide if you want to go into the easement. If you say you want to go into the easement, we can actually consume that CRP into that easement. But the CRP will cancel.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to understand.
I'm just giving you all your options because they're the council. And a lot of times, if you cancel CRP before, you have to pay that money back. But if you go in the easement, you will not because there's one government program taking up other government programs. So it allows NRCS.
Okay, so you can't integrate those. Well, I guess we call it like a contract novation, a transfer. So from conservation reserve over to the conservation easement.
Right.
And
with no penalties to the producer.
Right, with no penalty, and you're still engaging with the same practices and with a payment. So you can do an assessment evaluation to see, so if you want to graze it or whichever, you could do that.
But that's after you can't be both.
No, I'm saying after you integrate them in or you novate one over to the other, canceling out that one without any penalties, anything of that nature. On the CRP land.
On CRP land, and that's just for GRP, but regular easement, no, cannot. You cannot graze, cannot, row crop cannot do anything. It's regular.
But I was just trying to see how. I understand now. I was thinking we couldn't do it without a regulation change. Certain, changes within the context of, the farm bill and stuff itself. But so you can integrate them. You could do the grazement. And that's, moving from CRP to easement and to do an assessment of which one had the greatest dollar benefits to it.
And that, yeah,
So
that's
for
the
this-
frequent landowner,
Yeah, right.
frequent landowner. He'll be the one to have to decide, yeah, I wanna do this, no, I don't,
Yeah.
we just give him the option. And then we also, and then just on switching over to the easement from a
Right,
contract, conservation contract.
Right.
To easement.
and then you can grade.
If it go on the GRP only.
Look, yeah, turn off the CRP, yeah, exactly.
Under an everyday,
Yeah, GRP, just GRP. The regular easement, no, which was the WRP.
Right.
And,
It's
No.
it's under that, yeah. It was.
and a lot of times the GRP has to be announced, they have to announce it and that kind of stuff, so. That's a lot of times, I only remember two signups on GRP.
Okay,
Since I've been around, because we had one. Oh, that's been about 2 years, and then they had another one last few years. It's only been GRP, it's only been twice. Y'all know how, it's only been twice that I know this. Y'all know any different? Okay, but it's only been twice that I know it, GRP. But on a normal, no, cannot work.
GRP was still in.
WRP, but it's considered as, but it's under the easement, they changed the name from WRP to the under easement program now. Now, under the easement program, you cannot grade, you cannot
right.
do anything, yeah.
under normal circumstances.
Under normal
Right,
circumstances.
that's a very unique opportunity.
Right, same thing with CRP, it has to be, a lot of times a disaster happens and you don't allow, but it has to come from top down and say, yeah, they allow you to grade because of the disaster.
Right, but that's the only way to
That's
do
the
it
only way.
without it being a disaster is to move it from one into the other and make the assessment of, that's all I was asking. I got to ask.
Yeah, I know you're picking on them, Clyde.
One thing I would like to add on that, as far as the establishing the farm number, FSA handles all the paperwork.
Right.
But the one thing I will add is just set up the farm number. You're talking about the plan, just in case you were to do something. All we would need for you to set up the farm number is proof of ownership. And that 2047 filled out, you have the farm number, whether you want to sign up for anything or not. When it comes to signing up, we need those additional forms, but I would suggest if you ever would consider to come in and set up the farm numbers, that's one thing out of the way. You just need those other bit of documents.
I always leave that up to the expert. They're the expert on phone number track number.
Right.
I put the information.
Somebody might be, not me.
I'm gonna give Miss Stevens the opportunity to come up and speak. We're in our says she's actually covering for this county. So that'll be an opportunity. I'll let her come in, speak in, do some stuff and let her say what she do. Oh, I'm sorry. Any other questions from me? I'm sorry. All right.
So you was certain.
I gotta slip out and go to the doctor's. That's bad.
You could bad that go out.
My name is Gary ALCDC. I am the retail conservation. I cover most time it's normally non-terms, but now I cover wherever I'm here or not. So I work with a little of everything. I work with beginning farmers. I work with urban farmers. I work with timber as well as chicken producers. So one conversation was about the different programs I offer for chicken producers. One thing is offer a lot of the energy outlets because they have the light bulbs and different things that require energy. So the energy outlet is a number like one of the main practices that the chicken producers acquire. And also it's once they get the energy outlet, then whatever the energy outlet say that it's needed, what's needed, they apply for another equip application next year just to say, I'm gonna do these types of protection inside the energy outlet. And so I don't know, I'm kind of scared, but I will take the questions behind the questions. The last 2 or 3 months I've been in ALCDC in Garden County. So I work with a lot of small producers, some of them acres, and sometimes just technical assistance. I'm not providing any equip applications, they just getting started. So no matter how big or how small you are, we can still come out and help you in the thought process. I'm thinking about doing this, but I don't know if this gonna work, this gonna work. And then it is a good time to come out and to have us to come out and we can let you know, like, this is not a good idea to plant this here. This is not a good idea to do this here. Just because me as a beginning farmer, that money kind of tight. And you don't want to make mistakes that could be avoided if you can just give someone a call and have them knowledge about it. So that's all I had. Any questions or anything?
One question.
Yes.
Do you have very much on with integrated practices where that was an area I was in, and that was like, well, sort of like the hill area here. There were chicken houses down on the lower side. You have chicken house, and they have some hoop houses up on the top area. Do you all find those types of operations very much so in this area where they're integrating some of the hoop houses, the vegetable production in with what has the chicken operation, any of those?
We do not. And also one thing, the biggest difference is coming down south, from whatever region you are, Midwest to down south, is the soil type. So we don't have the soil type that allow that much trauma. Our soil types here, they kind of they like to our PLC. So that can't take a lot of use in different areas. The different areas can fire. No, we don't have.
So you can't do a lot of soil movement.
I wouldn't. If it's soil like this, I would not recommend it.
Without erosion.
Yes.
Yeah. But now hoop house production now you can do hoop house production and sort of production practices without restricting the soil. I mean you can have raised beds.
So with NRC, yes, you can do raised beds, but still with us NRC, your raised beds still have to be connected to the ground.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's on the ground. You got to raise bed. You don't have to deal as much with. Right. You mean there's a practice where you eliminate. For the most part, you eliminate the type of erosion that can occur if you have one on the hill and you have the lower.
You could do contour strips as well, like putting 150 certain grasses in between to try to help the erosion. It's different things, and I would say there's no cookie cutter practices for a certain landscape. Every landscape is different. Every landscape has a different soil type.
Right.
So it has to be cut so for your practice for your land, your soil type.
Right.
So that's really very important to do a soil request a conservation plan.
Right.
To come out there and do a field visit.
Right.
And when you do a field visit, you can look at the landscape and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So that allows you or allow our soil cons and our technicians and our engineers to go on site and look and say, this will be better fitted for this because of the lay of the land. So you always have to remember that part of it too. It's hard to do it from the office or from the seat.
Right.
You actually now putting your eyes on it. So yeah.
That was back to my point. And basically, every farm can have a conservation plan.
Correct.
You know, basically to look at maximizing soil use, space use, one, integrated type of practice of that nature, you know, being the other, as well as the other conservation programs that enhance everything in dealing with that.
Right.
That was mine. I mean, you got to go through more assessments on the farm. That's your recommendation for integrated production.
And so it does. Like when I go up there, I try everyone's different. I try my best to like allow the producers to speak, allow them to tell me what their goals are, what their dreams are, and then once they tell me everything, I will let them know like, hey, this might not work good here. This might not do good here. If you do this, this is going to happen. Like, oh yeah, I had that problem. I didn't know why this is like. So I like to allow them to talk, even at future plans, because you can guide them like, let's do this first, let's do this first. Because with the grazing system, we had somebody that put their tanks in first before they did water lines before feed. And that's kind of backwards because you got to undo the fence. It's just like, look, if you're a beginner farm, you don't know, like, man, I got to undo my fence now to take my water line to it.
But if they had a plan,
right,
then they would have made that area. So it's not back on good. the recommendation, everybody get a conservation plan. from the
Yeah,
farm, you know,
yeah.
and then how to access the program and the benefits of the program.
Yes,
Yeah, including maximizing land use.
yes, maximize land use. Just maximize all resources.
I'm not gonna pick on you. That's all I have.
And we do, they do try to add that, they say, Edgar.
Yeah, Edgar,
Alan Eric, Alan
Hernandez.
Hernandez, yeah.
I spoke with him, he said that he didn't know what he was gonna get.
Yeah, he wasn't able to make it. Yeah.
most time, I'm here, Arkadelphia, I like this, I hear,
We always reach out to the local. I always make sure I'm here to support them if they don't.
You know, you were well covered, so you.
Yeah, so I always come and make sure I cover the local, but we always invite them.
And thank you so much.
You got some obligations you can get done.
yes, that's what you gotta do.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are getting to 1 o'clock, over, but, Doc.
So just let me know I have 7 minutes. You know, I was running your time down.
Yes. But I would, no, I didn't do you, Doc. So, anyway, rural development, he's gonna come up and start with this, with that, as we have a representative. She cannot say, so Doc gonna take care of that.
She said, oh, Lord. Yeah, I heard him, listen, I'm gonna be here in the place of the USDA rural development. Then the audience say, they didn't say amen.
Yes.
Yeah, they said, yes, Lord. So, they figured, for the USDA RD representative president, to say, please come forward. Do not let them cover the program. We have to add an hour on to this work session, but I'm not gonna do that, people. It's gonna be a quick summary. You know, I always started saying the USDA rural development, you know, you hear people say, and saying that agency, as a part of one USDA, can build an entire rural community. They can do infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, technology, business, enterprise, finance and development. They can build homes, houses. So all of that within the context, I don't think they have a workforce development program, but as far as everything else and what makes community, they can provide community facilities, financial support. And that's everything from a fire station, police station, community facilities, senior citizen, medical clinics, even schools. I think they can finance school. Don't do clinics. Okay, clinic. They do clinic. They don't do schools. Take that out. Scratch it out. They do medical clinics. So all of those things as relates to community from a community development perspective. That's why I say they can build an entire community and they can give support as it relates to community improvement, and community development as a whole. Housing. A lot of people want to know about housing, rural housing. That's become a growing issue, particularly affordable housing. They have the 502 and the 504 program. The 504 program is basically it's a rehab program. You can do up to a $40,000 1% loan for renovation on a home. That's on the loan financing side. Then they have the other added financial support assistance up to $10,000 in a grant program. Now, so that's like $50,000 in financial assistance that could be provided by USDA rural development under the 504 program to work with families and individuals for home renovation. That's the 504. They have the 502 program. Now, the 502 program is new construction. If people are affordable housing for families and individuals in rural communities, population not more than 35,000. It was over 35,000, I guess I'm still on the right track so far. If it's over 35,000, then the community could be ineligible, they may not service that area. So under 35,000, rural communities, which, you know, most of, our state's communities are within that population range or less, unless you get into Little Rock, Conway, Pine Bluff, you know, areas like the Jonesboro, you know, those areas. Fort Smith, that Fort Smith's 93,000. No, I'm sorry, Fayetteville 93,000. Jonesboro is roughly about the same, maybe 100. I don't know which one is bigger than Jonesboro. It's like Fayetteville and Jonesboro. It's really on this racetrack to see which one is going to go the fastest. But from a housing under the 502 program, I think it's a maximum of 419,000 for that particular loan program. And the interest rate there, I don't know exactly what the interest rate is right now, but it varies. But as far as affordability, the interest rate is much less than what the traditional banks are. Now that 419,000 the maximum loan rate amount for the 502 program, that's on the direct loan. On the guarantee loan, you can go to a private sector lender, regular bank, and just like they do with the farm loan program, they can do a loan guarantee up to 90% maximum on that with the loan guarantee program in dealing with affordable housing. Now, some people will say, how is 418,000 over a 20 or 30-year period of time? You can't go to 40 years, I think, am I right? Maximum, okay, now 30 years, I'm back down like 30. 30 years, man, okay, 30 years, over a 30-year period of time, amortized, based on whatever the interest rate is on affordability. And some people ask that, okay, how can I afford to make a payment of 418,000, say I do qualify even based on that income rate? No, because rural development, they have a program and the way that they deal with the subsidy, I won't get into all the details of that, but they have a subsidy, a means of subsidizing that to create a full ability for the household that's within the income range requirements for that particular loan. Again, up to the maximum $419,000 to build homes in rural areas. The community facility grant, in most cases, I know the ones that I see now, you may qualify for partial grants, and then they have the loan side of the community facility financing. And again, depending upon the income for that particular overall average income, there are certain eligibility criteria, the same thing for the community and for that area on the community facility financing, financial assistance, both for the grant and for the loan. And in some cases, they don't qualify at all for the grant side. It may be 100% loan, but again, the rates are much cheaper than dealing with traditional lenders, and that's one of the good things about community facility financing. Again, it could be for fire station in a local community. It could be other types of community facilities also provide financing for. It may be for infrastructure improvement, water system, sewer system, things of that nature. They also have the business enterprise grant and loan programs. All of these programs, and one I'm giving reference to now, particularly on the business enterprise side, those that financial assistance and application process for that is normally handled from the state levels, normally not from the local office. It comes through the state, but the local office can work with you through that whole process, accessing the support services that's needed to deal with the application process, be it for the loans, or the grant, and dealing with rural business. The other thing I want to give reference, because people do ask about this sometimes, is under the affordable housing program for those individuals who are as individuals or as businesses that's in the business of rental property. Rural development does still have the 515 program. 515 program, affordable housing, multifamily housing. Again, the affordability rate means if you're going to offer affordable housing to that segment of the population, they have certain requirements, income area, those individuals who will be eligible to stay on those properties that one individual may apply for, get the loan, and they offer it as affordable housing. Income again for where your market would be. Those individuals provided are offering that particular affordable property too. The other part that would apply on the affordable housing on the resident side is the rental rate. Now that means income on one side for the market of those individuals that you would service in the marketplace and providing affordable housing, but also you are within an area of a market cap, a rental cap. In other words, you can't just say I'm at a market rate. The average rent in this area is say $1,200 a month. $1,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, unit. But for the affordable rate and what you'd have to offer your services for in providing housing may be at $900 versus $1,500. In other words, that affordable market rate is consistent with what the HUD market rates are, affordable housing market rates are. And that's how you have to operate within the context of the 515 loan program. And I encourage that, I encourage it from a developer perspective. You may not find many developers, moving into that financing arena as much so now you did some years ago. But that's where most of the affordable housing is coming from RD back in the 80s and the 70s, when you see the multifamily housing. The housing that was getting built in rural areas. The last one I'm going to talk about is farm worker housing. I'm pretty sure, and I know the NRCS people, the FSA people know this also, is that, most of the producers are those who are farmers and they're raising chickens. They have farm workers. So farm workers, you may have a pretty large number of farm workers in this area. Well, so the farm worker housing program, rural development also provides the financing for farm worker housing. I hope the producers in this area are using it. It's definitely the more affordable area in providing housing for farm workers is through the rural development financing. They do have that program for housing for farm workers. I know all of the individuals that I have talked to in the past and those that I've known, they depend upon farm workers and those individuals work with the chicken farming operations on a day-to-day basis. The egg production, pork production, again, RD, Michigan Rural Development, they are the resource for farm worker housing, and they have the more affordable one that you'll find anywhere for creating housing opportunities for farm workers and for the farmers themselves. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Business community energy program. Michigan Rural Development also has this energy program as well. You know that. They have an energy program. And it's an energy grant program, right? And the energy grant program for farmers, farmers are the one that normally have business enterprises, but that can benefit from the USDA energy grant program. It's a grant. I'm still right. So for those individuals and like NRCS and those who go out and do the audit assessment and dealing with the lighting and what needs and what benefits the FSA can provide as it relates to the energy aspect of that farming operation, you're going to enhance that in partnering back with RD with that energy program, maybe some of the areas that may not be covered under the equipped part of the energy program with NRCS. Energy housing, farm worker housing, affordable housing, business enterprise, community facilities, along with I think that's about it. Infrastructure. along with the infrastructure. Pretty much a cover rural development. I just encourage anybody who wants to know more about that program to contact the local office, USDA, rural development, to get more information, to make applications, to access the program service. I am going to say this one thing though, biggest challenges we see all the time is air property and houses where individual family members may live in a house. They need access to the renovation program. They may be 60 plus years old. They've been staying there as long as we stayed, with the homestead, and those who have left the area and they had not needed the property, those of the individuals who live there, they can meet the eligibility age-wise and income-wise. But if it is their property and they have not probated that estate and have it established as administrator, well, it's still not going to work. Even as an established administrator, do not have it very clear on the individual owner. They have to be the owner of that property. So they need to have to create either by way of restricted deed or something like that. There are ways to do that the individual heirs could deed it over to an individual, the individual who's living there to access the program services. And it may be from a restricted deed perspective if the property can be sold or whichever. Our first right of refusal by other heir than any living heir to the context of the deed. But the heir property can be a barrier to access both the grant and the loan financing program for affordable housing, both on the renovation and on the construction. Because you're going to build a new house and it's on a lot, and it's undivided interest on that lot. The same thing is going to apply. Got to be clear title and ownership of that lot. You're going to tear the house down and build another one. It's a vacant lot. Clear title ownership on the property that you're going to put the house on. It's air property situation. And people y'all get the opportunity time to ask me any questions you want to, but I figure since I ask all the questions and use up all the time, and the time is up now, there's other questions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We really appreciate it for those online, those in person. Unless there's some questions online, then you may don't have any questions. I'm turning back over this screen to close everybody out. Thank you.
Thank you. We just want to thank each and every one of you who have come and to gain, I hope you have gained knowledge that and get the opportunity to utilize the knowledge of to the FSA, NRCS, and rural development agency. So we do have evaluation sheets inside the program, and I would like for you to complete it and leave it with one of us, and also a client intake form. So please complete and leave it with us. And thank you all, and have a safe trip back.